Ketsui. For many years after its arcade release in 2003, I found it to be mostly the black sheep of Cave's lineup at the time. I just didn't get the scoring system and didn't find it all that interesting. Fast forward about a decade, and after spending some time playing DoDonPachi Daifukkatsu Black Label Arrange mode, I decided to go back and try the original. During the second time around, I was pleasantly surprised. I understood everything, was actually enjoying the game, and had figured out what everyone else was talking about all this time. Ketsui is unique off the bat because it is currently the only Cave title in their entire lineup that uses the lock-on firing technique. But we'll get to that a little later. Let's talk about the story first. In the year 2054, global forces have decimated the planet, with natural resources in short supply, and many of the remaining nations warring over the remains. This in turn leads to World War III, and the remaining UN forces become powerless against the other nations, as they have far advanced weaponry and machines in their arsenal. An investigation is launched, and it turns out that a company called Evac Industry has been supplying all this kick-ass firepower to all sides, and pretty much every side, generating tremendous profits from the endless fighting. The power that Evac comes into control of because of their arms deals leads them to basically telling the entire planet to fuck off and they can do whatever they want. This includes creating their own cities, factories, shipyards, and of course, their own militarized ground forces. In order to make a final initiative against Evac, the UN forces create a secret strike team, composed of 4 pilots in 2 pairs, utilizing 2 advanced helicopters, with fake Evac markings and insignia. The plan was to simulate a rebellion within Evac itself, in the hopes of bringing down the company headquarters. The game allows you the selection of either the first helicopter, the Tiger Schwerdt, which has slow movement but a wide formation shot, or the Panzerjäger, which is traditionally the opposite, with fast movement but a more concentrated forward firing power. I tend to use the Tiger Schwerdt, going against my usual selection of the forward firing ship, a la Type A in most DoDonPachi games, mainly because it has a faster lock-on for its gun pods. Speaking of shot types, as mentioned earlier, the firing in this game normally functions the same as in many other shooters, except in this game, by holding down the fire button, your floating gun pods will lock onto whatever it is you're currently shooting at. More specifically, they lock onto whatever the last enemy hit by your main shot, while held down, hits, functioning much like a targeting laser. This creates a very varied style of gameplay, unique to this game only. Well, unless you count DoDonPachi Daifukkatsu Black Label Arrange. But let's not get off track. This type of attack allows the player to move freely around the game space, while still dealing damage to targets or bosses, without having to worry about directed lines of fire. There does exist a little strategy in that if you do lose lock-on during a boss fight, you do usually have to reacquire lock, and this can put you in jeopardy. As per other Cave games, there are 5 stages total, with each stage bringing you closer to the main force's base of operations. This game also features probably one of my most favorite tracks in the entire game library, and that's Stage 4, otherwise known as Defensive Line. The original version is very memorable and easy to listen to, but there are also 2 other remixed versions that I feel are superior. first one being the arranged version from the aforementioned DoDonPachi Daifukkatsu Black Label Arrange mode. And the second one being from a Ketsui arranged album. Both are very good, but both unique. The Black Label version features a more rock, heavy guitar emphasis, while the latter, while also having electric guitar work, holds more to the original with a blend of guitar and synth work. The graphics are very well done, as this was only one of 3 releases in the Cave library to use a motherboard not based on their own arcade boards or designs. Ketsui was released on the Poly Game Master hardware, as was Pro Gear before it, and ESP Galuda after it. It does fit the game well, however, if you compare it to the previous Cave titles, as well as those that came after it, utilizing the CV1000 board, you do notice simple differences in the visual style. While things like explosions, bullets, and boss designs are detailed and fluid, the entire tone of the game does seem a little bland. Tone as in the actual colors and shades, not necessarily in the storyline or the setting. The levels are somewhat varied in design, and all enemy ships and objects are full of little details. The overall length of the stages, as well as the game as a whole, is short, possibly even shorter than a Kai Katana. I'm not sure, I've never done a timed run of either game yet, but I might have just given myself a new idea. On to the scoring. Another variation that is found only in Ketsui is that the chaining function, normally found in almost every other Cave game, is somewhat reversed in this game. Instead of destroyed ships adding to a large chain multiplier, they drop numbered cubes with varying levels from 1 to 5. Once any of these cubes are collected by the fighter, a small timer appears in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, underneath the current total cube chain. While this timer is active, any other fighters destroyed will drop the same numbered cube, thus increasing your score based on the amount and type of cubes you collect. Once the timer runs out, you must restart it via collecting another cube of certain value. The kicker being that the value of the cubes is based on proximity. Thus, the closer you are when you destroy a ship, the higher the value of the cube dropped. Engaging enemies at point blank results in number 5 cubes being dropped, and decreasing in value the farther you are from the target. Lastly, the cubing chain is only activated by destroying ships with your main fire. You must switch to lock on firing only to continue enemies dropping cubes. As usual, Manobu Namiki takes care of the music in this release, and once again, he doesn't disappoint. As previously mentioned, Stage 4 is my favorite in the whole game, but there are also quite a number of equally composed pieces of music. Stage 1, called Interception, and Stage 2 called SUBURB are also of special note. You'll notice a variety of instruments used in the music, although the synths do tend to take the lead through most of the tracks. Aside from the original arcade release, there was also an Xbox 360 port released in 2010, named Ketsui Kizuna Jigoku Taishi Extra. It features the arcade port as well as a new X mode, which alters the score mechanics somewhat along with other minor changes. Unfortunately, there is no HD version on this release, nor does it contain a Black Label mode, as Ketsui has never seen a Black Label version, which is a shame considering how fucking badass DoDonPachi Daifukkatsu Black Label Arrange turned out. I will most likely never pick up the 360 release, as currently with a price tag hovering around $60 plus and not even having a Black Label version, I don't find much in the way of replayability or progression as other cave releases have. Overall, Ketsui is singular in the entirety of cave games released. There really isn't another title similar to it in most respects. It took me many years to appreciate it for what it is, and to really get into the game as a whole. But now that I have, I enjoy it more and more each time I play it. With the release of Daifukkatsu Black Label Arrange, I think it's a good example that the scoring mechanics can be grafted onto other cave releases, and still be a blast. It'd be interesting if Cave went back, overhauled the original DoDonPachi in HD, and added the scoring system from Ketsui to it. Kinda like creating DoDonPachi Forever Black Edition or something like that. I'd buy it, no matter the price. Either way you look at it, Ketsui is a standout in the vertical shooting genre, and definitely continues to grow on me over time. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, go check it out. Don't forget to check out my Twitch account for live shoot 'em up action, my real-time playthrough videos, MAME Mondays, and other fun gaming videos as well.